Okay, so let's dive into a connection that on the surface sounds, well, impossible. What could the fight for the skies over Kyiv possibly have to do with the defense of Dubai? It turns out, everything. This is a story about shared weapons, unexpected new alliances, and how modern wars are starting to bleed into each other, creating one single global battlefield.
So let's kick things off with a number that really puts the global ripple effects into perspective. When the conflict in the Middle East ramped up, 50,000 Russian tourists found themselves completely stranded. All of a sudden, popular vacation spots like Dubai and Qatar were on the front lines of a new kind of war. It just goes to show you, the consequences are felt far, far beyond the immediate battlefield.
And the human cost? It was immediate and it was stark. In the UAE alone, these attacks injured at least 217 civilians. These weren't just strikes on some abstract piece of infrastructure. They were attacks that directly harmed real people who were just living and working in one of the world's biggest international crossroads.
And get this, the victims came from over 30 different countries. We're talking Russia, India, Pakistan, Egypt, the Philippines, the list goes on. It's a sobering reminder that when you attack a global hub like the UAE, you're really launching an attack on the whole world.
Okay, so that brings us to the military side of things. How exactly do you attack a country like the UAE? And maybe more importantly, how do they defend themselves? Well, it really boils down to a classic strategic fight, a massive, overwhelming barrage up against a super sophisticated shield.
What we're looking at here is a real clash of military doctrines. On one side, you've got Iran's strategy, and it's all about sheer volume. The idea is to fire so many missiles and drones that even the best defense system in the world just gets overwhelmed. But the UAE's response is all about technology. It's this multi-layered shield designed to intercept threats at different altitudes and speeds. It's the classic battle, right? Quantity versus quality.
So let's actually take a look at this shield. The UAE's defense system has 3 distinct layers. For the really long-range threats, way up in the atmosphere, they've got the THAAD anti-ballistic missile system. Then, in the middle, they use the battle-proven Patriot PAC-3. And for anything that still manages to get through all that, there's a final close-in layer of gun missiles. Each layer is basically designed to catch anything the previous one might have missed.
But look at what that shield was up against. Iran fired more than 1,700 projectiles, a whole mix of drones and missiles at the UAE. That number is just staggering. It's specifically designed to push that layered defense to its absolute breaking point. The hope is that even if 95% of the projectiles are intercepted, the 5% that get through can still cause absolutely devastating damage.
All right, now this is the part that might really surprise you. Take a look at these numbers. Iran has actually launched more drones at the UAE than it has at Israel. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It tells you something really important. The strategy here isn't just military, it's economic. You see, if you target a global financial hub, a place like Dubai, you're not just attacking a country, you're making the entire world feel the pressure.
And this is where our whole story pivots. Because to really understand why the UAE is such a major target and why this specific strategy is being used, well, we have to look thousands of miles away, to the battlefields of Eastern Europe. This story isn't just about the Gulf anymore.
So it raises this huge question. And the answer? Well, the answer reveals a really startling connection to Ukraine, and it completely changes everything we thought we knew about regional security.
Here's the core idea, and it's a big one. We're not looking at separate crises anymore. What we're seeing are 2 theaters, Ukraine and the Gulf, of a single fused war. The technology, the tactics, the alliances, they're all completely intertwined.
And the link isn't just theoretical, it's direct, it's tangible. The exact same family of Iranian-designed Shahed drones that Russia's using to terrorize Ukrainian cities and knock out their power grid, those are the very same ones being launched against refineries and airports in the UAE. The geography's different, but the weapon system is identical.
Now, this whole fusion of conflicts is forcing the creation of brand new global alliances. It's completely redrawing the lines of who's a partner and who's an opponent. We're literally watching 2 major competing blocks take shape right before our eyes.
So on one side, you have what's being called the authoritarian strike complex. Think of it as an alliance of convenience between Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea. And they don't just sell weapons to each other. They're sharing tactics, co-producing entire systems, and learning directly from what happens on each other's battlefields.
So let's break down how this whole thing actually works. First, it's iterative. That means the lessons they learn from using a Shahed drone in Kharkiv are used to upgrade the very next one that gets launched at Dubai. Second, it's distributed. The same weapons can be fired from all sorts of different locations by different groups.
And finally, it's institutionalized. This isn't some casual arrangement. It's being locked in with formal treaties, shared factories, and joint training exercises. And on the other side, there's the response, a democratic counter-coalition. Now, this is the U.S.-anchored defensive alliance we're more familiar with, but it's evolving. And the most crucial new element, the one that's providing the most relevant, up-to-date expertise, is Ukraine. And right here is the big, unexpected twist in this whole story. Ukraine, which has for so long been a recipient of security aid, is now becoming a security donor. It's exporting the one thing nobody else has: fresh, combat-proven experience in defeating the exact systems being used by that authoritarian strike complex.
This isn't some future prediction either. It's already happening. Between 2025 and 2026, Ukraine signed 10-year defense agreements with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. And these deals aren't just about buying a few weapons. We're talking about co-production, about building factories, and literally embedding Ukrainian specialists to help the Gulf states counter that Iranian threat.
So, what does all this mean for the future of global security? Why should a defense deal between Ukraine and the UAE matter to the rest of the world? Because it fundamentally changes the entire strategic landscape. So what are the three big takeaways here? First, this whole fusion deepens the global divide between these two blocs. Second, it creates a new strategic problem for Iran. Any tactic they test out with Russia can now be countered way faster by Gulf states learning directly from Ukraine. And third, it proves that in modern warfare, industrial policy is security policy. You just can't defend yourself with promises. You can only defend yourself with what you can actually produce.
So if there's one thing to remember, it's this. The old idea of a contained regional conflict, it's over. We are living in an age of fused warfare. The lessons, the tactics, the technologies, they all flow seamlessly across the globe now. What a Ukrainian operator learns defending a power plant near Kharkiv today is exactly what will be used to harden the defenses of Dubai's critical infrastructure tomorrow. The battlefields are all connected.
And that leaves us with one final and pretty chilling question. If the battlefields of Ukraine and the Gulf are already fused together and we're in an age where technology just erases distance, where is the next unexpected front line going to emerge?